Hello and welcome to Witchy Woman Podcast. I am your host, Danae Sweet, and this is Season 5, Episode 6. Today we're going to talk about witches, poisoners, and the French monarchy. Specifically, a woman named Catherine Monvoisin. But first, let's draw some cards. This is going to be what we need to know that was going to help us get through this time period from this day to the next episode. 2 weeks. All right, let's go ahead and draw one card. Cut once, twice, 3 times. This is funny. So I got the card Yule. This is from the deck, the Witch's Wisdom Oracle cards. I freaking love this deck. So this one is Yule, and the theme is rebirth. First off, before I give my impressions, I want to read the little poem it's got in the book because I think they're really pretty. So Yule or rebirth. You waned, now growing like the sun. Who's born again? The light has won. With Yule log placed on the fire, rebirth delivers heart's desire. This magic is worked with harm to none, so mote it be. There it is done. This card reminds us to rest. It reminds us that we've been through a lot this year and we deserve some downtime. And I know we have adult responsibilities and we have to do the things. We have to go to work. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of maybe you take care of pets or others or children, or, just keeping the basic household things done requires a lot of energy. I get that. But this is reminding us to take the time. If you find a moment that you can just be still and rest and acknowledge that you're a badass for getting through 2025, I think that we're not giving ourselves enough credit for just making it to the end of the year. So if you are here and you're listening to this, good job. You made it, and a new year awaits. And I want to remind you that this isn't the time to act on your goals or start making. You can make plans. You can think about the things that you want to do next year. You can get creative and write these things down. That's fine, but let them marinate. This is a time of stillness. Winter shows us that it is a time to recuperate. So I think that's what this card is telling you, is to take some time for self-care, whether that's a bath or go get your nails done or have a nice meal or sleep in an hour on Sunday morning instead of getting right up if you can. It's the little things, okay? I want to say thank you to those who are my listeners, and I had to take a break because I had some stuff going on. I had surgery recently, and everything's fine. I'm good to go, but I needed some time to relax and to recuperate, and I appreciate that. Some people might say you could have just released the episode anyway. I could have, but generally, when I release an episode, I want to be available. I want to be available to answer your questions. People do email me and ask questions about episodes, and since every other one is a class, I do want to be available to help you guys when you do email or comment on social media or whatever it is. So thank you for being patient. I really, really, really appreciate that. Okay, so let's get on with this week's episode. So this one is about poisoner, and she's a witch, and she's a huge influence behind the throne in France. The reason I wanted to talk about this one is because I don't know if you guys remember, I used to grow poison plants. I am fascinated by plants that can maim or end somebody. Not because that's what I want to do, but because I feel these plants have a beautiful power to them. Their energy to me is empowering, but also I think it teaches you to respect power, and cultivating and growing these plants just really, really soothed my soul. And that's why this person, I just was really drawn to them. Okay, so What do you get when you mix murder, magic, sex rituals, demon summoning, and a French royal court? No, it's not some reality show. It's just Paris in the 1600s. This is the story about a woman, a fortune teller, a midwife, poisoner, and an accused witch whose client list could have brought down a king if she had wanted to. She wasn't or didn't just dabble in magic. She allegedly held black masses with royal mistresses, arranged assassinations, and had demon summoning side hustles. Her name was Catherine Monvoisin, and she was powerful. And that's one thing I really, really loved from this story. So I want to set the scene here. So think 1600s Paris. Glamour, death, dirty secrets. During the 1600s, Paris was all glam on the surface. Versailles, opulence, powdered wigs. The population was about 350,000 people. Paris was the largest city in Europe at this time, and the Renaissance period ushered in the beautifully Gothic architecture and really over-the-top fashion. So think appearance is absolutely everything. Okay? But underneath of all of that opulence, it was misogyny, poverty, patriarchal control, and zero power for women at all. This was a time in history that punished women for their intellect and praised them for obedience and beauty. And I think we all know what happens when people are pushed to the side and given no autonomy. We find a way to get our needs met. So generally when oppressed person, people, or group need to get their needs met, they do it in a secretive way, right? So think underground magic, alchemy, and poisoners to solve all the problems that law would not touch. Okay, I am probably butchering her name, so if anybody actually speaks French, you can totally correct me. But let's talk about Catherine Monvoisin. Okay, she was born around 1640. She married a silk trader and jeweler, and he was an asshole. He was an abusive, deadbeat dickhole, and he wasn't very good at running his business, and eventually he ruined it. Like, he wasn't good at any of this other than beating women, and so she grew up poor, and upon the news of her husband's business, taking a shit, she was really pissed off, to say the least. And she vowed that she would never live poorly again, because that's how she grew up. And she was like, oh, hell no, we're not doing this again. So she decided to use her palm and face readings to start a business in Paris. She'd been practicing this skill since approximately 9 years old. And she had planned to make her fortune using this skill. She also practiced medicine, midwifery, and abortions. This woman had decided if she was going to ever get out of the poverty that she was in, she was going to have to offer a wide array of services that were not available in the general public. Like, you can't just open a store for abortions. She did all this secretly because she knew that it was a big deal. People needed it, and she was going to provide those services. So the longer she offered these things, the better she got at it. And she was extremely good. She was able to allegedly perform a wide array of spells and eventually turned to specializing in love spells and poisons. And I think she was so super smart because that was the time. This was the Renaissance era where everybody, it was all love and parties and loose, what do I want to say? It was people were in their slut era. Let's not slut shame. They were in their slut area. They're like, let's go to parties and, get drunk and have fun, unprotected sex. And they got pregnant. So she was like, okay, I can help you. She also spent a ton of money to create an atmosphere which would make clients believe that she was the real deal. Like, she was so smart. For example, she had a special robe that was crimson red velvet embroidered with eagles in gold. And let's just say it was hella expensive. She had this thing made to perform in it. Today, her robe would have cost around $2,000. So she knew how to create an aesthetic for herself, her business, and her clients that's going to feel opulent and mysterious, because she knew that's what they wanted. Like, she literally built a business just knowing exactly who her customer was. And I really love that about her. She knew them well enough to craft a marketing model that was extremely successful for her. She's a marketing genius of her time. So during her time fortune telling, she noticed that her clients had very similar wishes: to have someone fall in love with them and for someone in their lives to die. And at first she played it safe by telling them if it's God's will, it's going to happen, or to pray to a certain saint. But seeing these things don't work out for her clients, that wasn't very good for her business. She started to sell amulets and different magical type practices, like bones of toads, teeth of moles, Spanish flies, iron filings, human blood, and mummy remnants, or the dust of human remains. Ew. All those things were allegedly kind of the ingredients for some of her love spells. So I think some of those ingredients definitely sound like they belong in a love spell, and I think some of them are purely for shock value. Like, the more mysterious and dark the ingredients could get, the more her clients would believe, like truly believe, that this shit was going to work for them. So what she was doing was pretty freaking dangerous to be a fortune teller and poisoner in Paris in the 1650s. The witch hunts were happening. Although France didn't have any anti-witch laws, it was still seen as a very taboo profession, and a lot of times people viewed it as evil. So no one would want to be questioned about it by the law or the church. So getting questioned by the church or the law, it kind of was inevitable at this point. And in 1665 to 66, her fortune telling was questioned. And it was questioned by the priests of St. Vincent de Paul's order. It's called the Congregation of the Mission. But she did successfully defend it. And I think that's amazing. Often in these so-called trials in front of the professors, self-proclaimed witches and fortune tellers had to perform their spells or fortune telling for them in order to prove that they are legitimate. So just imagine having to go to a big, church with a bunch of priests and witnesses, and you have to perform spells or read tarot cards or doing something like that in front of all these people, and the penalty for you fucking up is dying. Like, if you don't do this right, you die. So I think she's kind of a badass for being able to take that pressure and be like, yeah, that's right, bitches, I'm legit. So when she did this and she was cleared, like, oh yeah, you're totally legit. Like, the priests didn't say, no, she's not a witch. They said, damn straight she is, and she's legit, so she can stay. So what was meant to destroy her only business made it stronger. Like, people, the word of mouth went viral, basically. She was taken much more seriously and started attracting very high society clients, including the mistress of King Louis XIV. I'm going to butcher this, but her name was Madame de Montespan, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, after getting her approval from the priest, she expanded her business from just fortune telling to palm and face readings as well. She added abortions to serve. She just kept adding stuff on, okay? Because she wanted to cast a nice wide net, and she was very much focused on fame, fortune, and money. So after the trials that she basically, gave them the middle finger and was like, yeah, I'm legit. Her notoriety, of course, went viral, as they do in social groups, and they started talking about her a lot. So let's focus on some rumors of things that she allegedly was doing. So supposedly she started doing naked sacrifices and performing black masses for her clients. This was never proven, and only testimony from clients and mostly secondhand accounts of these things were given. So I take that with a grain of salt, but those are the things that people were saying about her. And I think this is fascinating because this is all during a time when being called a witch got you hung or crushed by fucking rocks or whatever, drowned. And she was just like, yeah, bitch, I'm a witch. And people were like, yeah, she does, all these things. And she still hadn't gotten in trouble or anything. People were like, she's amazing. She's powerful. Don't fuck with her. And I love that about her. So some of the other things that they said were that the rituals were women and they were served as human altars, and use of blood, bones, and fetuses were used in the rites. And some of the gossip was that invocations to demons like Asmodeus or Lucifer were happening. And remember, all this is reported like by other people, by people in the rumor mill. Think the royal court and imagine all the gossip that they had nothing to fucking do except for like wear pretty clothes and gossip. So these are the things that people are saying about her, because eventually you get that famous and you get that notoriety and people start becoming jealous of, oh, well, she's wearing these gorgeous dresses and she has a beautiful home and, she's respected and feared. So you see where I'm going with this, right? Like, people are starting to get jealous of her. And as for like using fetuses and human sacrifices, I need you to remember that history was written by men. And in especially this time period, what did men think about women? Absolutely nothing. They were things. They were property to them. They weren't allowed to have notoriety and respect, and they weren't allowed to be feared. So think about that when you think about the context in which this is being told. It's from a man's view. So back to kind of the scene. So during this time, she thrived. She saw clients all day at her personal home. She entertained the rich people of Paris in the evening with dining and music. And like everything just screamed, I am the woman of Paris. And at that time, she realized there was another avenue of income that she had not tapped into yet. So she basically created like an MLM. She controlled a wide network of fortune tellers from her position in Paris society. Like, she became the top of the pyramid for all of these other fortune tellers and witches, which was amazing. Like, she was very, very smart. Her parties became the talk of the elite, and she would most often host these with her clients present. And what I read about her vilified her mostly, claiming that she was the leader of the evil witch cabal and all of this crap. But again, this is stuff that you're hearing from men. At this time in her career, she expanded her services to poisoning. So she went from like fortune telling and spells and love spells and things and abortions, because all of these things are, mysterious and people are drawn to that shit. And it's also things that people need. So abortion was something that people needed, and she's like, hell yeah, I'll do that. She was willing to do pretty much any kind of revenue stream that she could control. So at this time, she started doing the poisoning, and it became one of her largest lines of, or ways of making money. Some of these were with her socialite and sometimes royal clientele. Her network of fortune tellers became a network of poisoners then, and her services were bought all over the area. So she has this huge network of, now she's not just doing the poisoning, she's teaching other women to do it, and they're doing it, and she's taking a chunk of their fee for that. So you can see how this is going to potentially get messy. The alchemist and one of Catherine's lovers, Adam Lesage, had said that she boasted of murdering her husband, which she absolutely denied. So again, coming from the mouth of a man. Some sources claim that she poisoned over 2,000 infants, but again, who writes history? These are abortions that happened once high-profile clients realized they were pregnant. But it looks way scarier to say she killed babies, okay? Which maybe she did, but there's nothing saying that she killed live babies. I think you can kind of see how the narrative is getting twisted. So she's providing abortion. So she's giving women herbs to have an abortion. And once, history tells things about her, it's, well, she killed babies. And I can totally see that as the parallel between then and now. Like, we're living in a state, not a state, what am I trying to say? We're living in a social climate where conservative rule is twisting the narrative of things that women's healthcare. It's twisting the meaning and the words, like abortion. People need abortions for a multitude of reasons. It's women's healthcare, but the conservative narrative is that you're killing babies. So I don't know. When I was reading all of this about her, I was like, God damn it. Anywho, I'll get off my soapbox there. But so now we're gonna talk about Madame de Montespan. Montespan. I don't know how to say her name. Let me see what the internet says, okay? Okay, the internet says it's Madame de Montespan. Okay. So remember, she is the mistress of King Louis XIV of France. And allegedly, she became the mistress of the king after Catherine allegedly performed a black mass to gain the king's favor. So eventually, as kings do, they lose interest. And he started to lose interest in this woman, and he became suspicious of being poisoned. He started having little tummy aches. So he kind of got suspicious. And he ordered the chief of Paris police to investigate the possibility, following the arrest of another fortune teller, Magdalene de Lagrange. This woman, Lagrange, ratted out Marie Bosse. Bosse? B-O-S-S-E. God damn it, I need to go look it up and see how to spell or how to say that. The internet says it's pronounced Marie Bosse. I'm probably butchering that. Anyway, I'm trying to do better with pronouncing things because it's weird. People will email me over the silliest things, and one of the most often email things is, you pronounce that wrong. So I'm trying better, okay? Anyway. We're going to call her Marie. So Lagrange ratted out Marie, who was a poisoner and member of the network of Voisin, which is the network that Catherine managed. So also, it's important to note that Marie was a rival. Like, she was very jealous, and she ended up, like, she was part of the network, and then she kind of went rogue because she was jealous. So she confessed to the chief of police about the poisons and Catherine's involvement. So shortly after, Catherine was arrested in 1679. Things kind of went downhill for her after that. Other associates of Catherine started to give information about black magic and the poisonings because they saw the writing on the wall. They're like, shit. You know, this bitch just ratted out Catherine, and she's the top of this pyramid. Who else is going to get ratted out? So they just started telling on themselves to save their asses. The high society members involved in this were also imprisoned. So if, some royal whatever got pregnant by like a stable boy and needed an abortion, this person was turned in and they went to jail. Maybe you were getting the shit kicked out of you by your husband. You hired somebody from the network to give you a poison so you could off your husband so he didn't beat the shit out of you anymore. Well, now you're going to get turned in and you go to jail too. But here's where it gets kind of interesting. So royalty will always protect itself, right? So she was actually never tortured. Her little minions were tortured, but she was never tortured because there was fear that she might reveal some high society people or politicians' names connected to her crimes. So if you were super up the food chain, you were safe if you were a client. But if you were anything short of royalty or a politician, you're going to jail. So upon further interrogation, she was interrogated. She just was never tortured. Catherine always denied that she had any connection with poisons and refused to reveal the name of her clients, including that mistress of the king. She also denied performing abortions, but during her trial, evidence such as vials, jugs, packets, potions, crystals, cauldrons, all that stuff, items of witchcraft is what they called it, were presented against her. But this is the cool thing that happened. King Louis was like, ooh, nope, we're going to stop that. And as soon as all of that evidence started being presented to the court, he buried it all to protect the monarchy. With all this proof against her, she was put to death in 1680 by burning. She never got to testify fully in court. It was believed that she did poison over 1,000 adults, killed numerous infants in her rituals, and a total of 300 people were arrested during the investigation, and 36 were executed for their crimes. So, despite them not digging too deep into her once the evidence was presented, you would think, oh, this is where the story turns awesome and she's like let go. No, King Louis wasn't going to let her go because she had information to ruin him and his family, the monarchy. So the only thing that could keep her from ruining him was death. And again, when I say, you know, it is believed that she killed numerous infants in her rituals, that's men. Those are superstitious, ego-driven men that wrote that recorded that for history. So I personally do not think that she probably killed a bunch of babies like that in rituals. I think she just did the things. She provided herbs for abortions. She did those kind of things. Did she poison people? Probably. But I think that they're trying to villainize her a lot. I think they're really, really tried to make her out to be, you know, an asshole. But when I was reading about her and the things that she went through as a young, you know, woman in Paris and growing up poor, and her husband wasn't very nice, I think starting things out, I think she was very much providing a service to help the women of Paris. She was giving them a way out from abuse, from unwanted pregnancies, and, you know, doing spells to empower women. I really do think that that's how it all started out, is she really did provide a service to women who really, really needed it. But I think in her case, her being linked to all the rich and famous Parisians didn't help her case at all. She ended up being a liability, which sucks. And the patriarchy loves to vilify women that have power, especially ones that have power over men. I think she was a badass feminist, and she was assisting women, and she created a freaking empire. She was a marketing genius. I really, really I really like this woman. I know that sounds kind of fucked up that I like somebody who poisoned people, but I think she was badass. I call her that, but I'm sure there are plenty of people that would see her as the villain in this story. So I want to know what you guys think. Like, what do you think what was your take with her? Was she a real witch or just a really smart woman in a dumb time? Did she take advantage of the ignorance and superstition of people? Or was she a badass feminist? I also want to ask, would you get a love potion from her? Would you buy a potion from her? And also, do you believe that the black masses and the infants in the ceremonies, do you think that was fear-mongering propaganda, or do you think that she actually did that? I'd love to hear what you have to say about her. So let me know in the social media, and also those that are in our Coven chat on Marco Polo. I really want to discuss this. So after you listen, maybe jot down some things that you got from this episode, things that you want to talk about, things that you want to ask me about, and let's chat. You can join our coven by going to witchywomanpodcast.com and hit the button of the menu that says Coven, and you can sign up there. You'll have access to our online grimoire, You can hear my dogs in the background. They're playing. So I'm not gonna edit it out because it's kind of funny. They're roughhousing. Anywho, I've got spells, rituals. We're gonna have meditations and all kinds of stuff in there. So, and I think the best part is that you get access to a Marco Polo group. It's a messaging app where we can talk together and see each other face to face. I really, really like this app. So if you would like to talk to us, join the Coven. Next week on Witchy Woman Podcast, we're going to talk about animal allies and familiars in our class episode. So until next time, stay witchy. Bye-bye.